want to specifically not only inspect fire escapes, but I have the skill to repair them. Otherwise, get out of the ring and say, hey, only structural engineers, because it says on the code, structural engineers or others acceptable to the building official. And the abuse on the G3 is beyond what you ever think it could be. I've got guys fixing fire escapes with paint. And it scares, then, and there's a lot of jobs being lost out of there, and not only in my trade, but in electrical and plumbing, whatever, where there's guys fixing fire escapes for $2 grand with a bucket of paint, and the guy that wants to fix it correctly for $20,000, but then, what's the test? Is the tenant on the ground or a fireman on the ground? Then everybody's going to say, oh my God, what happened? So that's all we're talking about here, is that there's some abuse going on. And I think a lot of the repairs, mandatory, need oversight, whether it be by a fire escape engineer that's qualified to you or by a structural engineer. So every time a repair is coming down, we always stress that a structural engineer overview is mandatory. Not only are they pulling a permit, but now there's a structural engineer overview, making sure that there's an initial visit, a mid-visit, a final visit by the structural engineer, who then is going to sign the final to you, so that at the end, when he's signing the final to you, there's still a building inspector coming in at the end of that to sign off the permit. So there's all these eyeballs that now are going onto these fire escapes. And this thing took 75 years to screw up, so it's not going to get fixed overnight. It's going to take another 3 to 5 years to get this back under control. Immediately, you should do like Seattle. Just get fire escapes tagged. If they pass, put a white on them. If they don't pass, just put yellows and reds throughout your city. That'll at least help the firemen know when they get there what they're looking at. Something that's been looked at or something that's never been looked at, and it'll get there. And a lot of times, as you guys know, there's fines and penalties and fees. As soon as you put a yellow or a tag on it, the meter's running, right? As soon as you put a tag, not I put a tag, because you guys doing your normal inspections, you walk in the back and you see a fire escape, you look at it. If there's no treads dangling, you don't put a red on it, you put a yellow on it. And the tag, if you read the tags on the things there, look what it says. The first thing that the owner or tenant that sees the tag is going to say, and if you read the tag on the yellow or on the red, it says, steps 1, 2, 3. Contact fire official or building official. Step 2, have fire escape inspected by inspector or by structural engineer. And then step number 3, service or load test it. Service means do a certified repair to it or load test it. It's right there on the tag. And the tag usually says at the top, do not remove. I think Malden has a $1,000 fee if you don't take care of your fire escape situation. So you can have fees. So as soon as you put a tag on a fire escape and you got an absentee landlord or somebody that's blowing it away, and 6 months later he finally gets to it, he's got the meter has been running since you put it on there. The only ones I put on is whites. But when I get there and you already have a red tag or a yellow, because the guy finally called somebody to go out and look, I got to put my tag next to your tag. Your tag stays because that's for court. That's your court tag that says this guy's 6 months into it, he hasn't done a damn thing about it. So before he even fixes the fire escape, and even after he fixes the fire escape, he's got court fees and fines and penalties from you guys because you tagged his fire escape a year ago. He never called you, did absolutely nothing about it. And you just, when you did all your tagging, you started working with reds first, then you move it on to yellows. 2 years later, you finally get into the yellow. But the red ones, that's what you're jumping on. Any other questions? I'll also be here after. If anybody wants to give me cards or you want some of this information, myself or Gary, you guys can give cards. Just keep banging away the questions. I'm pretty much at the end of this, and I can speak with you after the fact. But if you have any more questions, I don't want to arm wrestle a lot of you guys and hold you here too long. But if you have any more questions that you guys want to keep throwing at me,
where are you getting the tags from?
we just made them up. We took Seattle's tags, which was like 19. If you want, I can make them up for you like we did for. We just make them up. We just put your name on there, like we did to Framingham. So if you like it, we can send you the PDF. And you just modify it if you have somebody that knows Photoshop, and just put your city and your phone number. Or we'll do that as a courtesy, and just put in. I think those are all outdated already. I don't think they say 1028.3, but we just need to change 101.3. But it's self-explanatory. We drop the codes in there, and we just make it so that it's pretty much a checkbox system.
1028.6.
Yeah. So that's probably the New Jersey code. That's probably the ones that you have there as a sample. But we would, I think you said about Framingham that we did a sample from Framingham.
Yeah, they're in
the other
black and white.
But you just call us, you give us your cards, or we'll give it to him and then he can send it out. But you can do it yourself if you have somebody within your department that knows Photoshop, and you can just modify it so that it has your phone numbers and your stuff. Otherwise, the blanks is what the engineers call you for so that they can put up yellows and reds, because then in that box that has the city information, they put their company information in there. But the rest of the tag is the same. The only thing that changed on the whole tag is just whether it's city information in there because you put the tag up, or whether it's an engineer's information because they finally took oversight. questions that you have? I'll be around for a little bit after this too, if you guys want to, and again, just as a quick, next week, I mean, tomorrow up in Lowell, if anybody has anybody up in Lowell, we're doing another class tomorrow, but next week it's Northampton. And next week, I believe we're also doing one down in Chinatown for the housing authorities. There's a morning class, an afternoon class, and then we have some classes also down in Newport, Rhode Island, that we're doing for the fire department. So if anybody wants to be one of those classes, we have quite a few classes scheduled.
Cisco, on behalf